Yo, what up, y'all? This is Nightmare Baller One, Nightmare Comics one piece of the No Longer Once in a Blue Moon podcast, and this is a spoiler review of Superman plus a little bonus for y'all. If you come to, if you're here because you know me from pro wrestling, so there's a little bonus at the end for y'all about something that bothers me. It's something that bothered me tonight. It's something so small. And if you're in our Discord, you already know where I'm going. But this is the only way I can get all my thoughts out about that crazy fucking post I saw. But the majority of this will be Superman. The majority of this will be Happy Me. Okay? Because I thought Superman was great. I thought that it checked all the boxes of what I look for in these movies, right? I want I've seen it twice, by the way. The first time it was an advanced thing. My headspace was somewhere totally different. I wasn't even thinking about it as a movie. I wanted to have fun with my experience. And honestly, the second time, same thing happened. Is it with me with these comic book movies, right? Because I grew up in the 90s where we got a movie like Batman Forever, and we were like, "Oh yeah, that's fine." When it's not. That's how dire things were. So I'm never as harsh on these things as everyone else are. I'm not built like that, bro. It's not in me. You know what I mean? I've never been that guy. It's never been. I've never been like that. That's never been my way. But I get why some people are. And that glare in my glasses is crazy. I know y'all can see me. I don't know what to do about it. Let's try to wipe these shits off. Jesus, where the glare? I don't know. The glare is there. I don't know. Fuck it. Don't look in my eyes. but Jesus Christ. Anyway, yeah. So I'm a bit different with these. All I ever want is, did I have fun the entire time? Did I feel like whoever made this thing, uh, whatever it may be, TV show, whatever, cares about the source material, right? And did I feel like there was a goal to everything I was watching? And this movie checked all three. I think that David Corn Sweat, I'm gonna say something very controversial, and I don't really care. Christopher Reeves is the most iconic portrayal of Superman that we've ever seen. Honestly, when people think Superman in pop culture, they think Christopher Reeve, right? That's what they think, right? Obviously, and by all means, when people dress up like Superman for Halloween, they dress up like Christopher Reeve. Things like that. Christopher Reeve is so ingrained in pop culture as Superman. That's totally different ball game. And honestly, it's a good representation of 1950s through like early 1970s Superman. It really is, honestly. It's probably perfect. I think in terms of taking Superman from the page to the screen, I think this guy's the best to ever do it. I think, especially the modern, the way he's written currently, the best to ever do it, bro. I think that this is like legit. I was like, yo, holy fuck, I'm watching Superman. This is crazy. I thought he was fantastic. I think that the struggle that they give, and this is gonna be spoilers, by the way, because I want to get into the comic book stuff. I don't really want to get into the movie aspect of it. I want to get into the comic book stuff. I'm just being honest. I think that the struggles that they give him are very, very cool takes on some of the most iconic Superman stories, like, period, right? I thought this movie had a lot of moving pieces, right? I'm not gonna lie to you. There was Lex Luthor manipulating the different governments against each other, and also Superman's Christ. Pretty much the Lex Luthor was almost like a like a mad scientist putting together like all these fucking like obstacles for Superman, right? And like it was like Superman's like goal to like navigate through each one. You know what I mean? And my only real problem with this movie is that as great as I thought Nicholas Holt as Lex Luthor was, I thought he was fantastic. best Lex ever on screen. I thought that he was in it. I don't want to say he wasn't in it enough because I don't think that's fair. There's really only three scenes where like him and Corey Sweat interact with each other. There is the scene where he storms the office and asks about crypto, right? And then there's the scene in the prison, and then there's the scene at the end, right? The fight at the end, and I wanted more because one thing that this is obviously adapting is Superman Birthright, and in Superman Birthright, their dynamic is the crux of that story. You know what I mean? And that's one of the biggest things this thing adapts. It also adapts a little bit of New 52 Superman and also a little bit of Brian Michael Bendis' run of Superman. I know they talked about Superman for all seasons, and I guess that's the themes of it a little bit. A little bit, like especially the stuff with Lois, a little bit, but like the end of the New 52 and the Bendis run is what I got from this the most, especially with the government conflict and a lot of the fucking Jesus, a lot of the I had a little bit of notes right here. Oh man, yeah, a little, especially with the government complex, the what Lex Luthor puts together to pretty much try to control a whole area of a country. That's all from Brian Michael Bendis' run, and adapted really well. I thought the action in this was fantastic. I thought the speed of Superman was really on display, and that's something that a lot of even like Zack Snyder, if you've seen Man of Steel, when the Kryptonians fought each other, they fought like DBZ characters. It never felt like it felt like they were teleporting instead of like moving really fast. And like this movie did a good job of that. I thought that this is gonna be. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just so scatterbrained because I really like from the comic book of it all. This is one of my favorite experiences in a movie theater. I like the acting all the way around. As I said, incredible. I also liked the way that they portrayed the Justice League. Right, I thought they were gonna do the cliche thing where we don't like Superman. I thought they were going to do that because that's like the thing that a lot of adaptations of the Justice League do. Like, we don't like Superman, we just work with the dude. You know what I mean? And that's not it at all. Like, they like the guy. You know what I'm saying? That's why Terrific. The dynamic with him and Superman is one of my favorite things in the movie. That's why I'm so excited about whoever and however they do Batman, because like that's going to be cool. And great movie though. Go see it. The fucking goddamn, I'm all over the place, but I'm sorry, I'm just hyped on it. The fucking Ultraman was really really cool from the comic book of it all, because when I heard the name Ultraman, I heard he was in this. I was like, Lex Luthor went to the multiverse. That's what I was thinking, because if you don't know, Ultraman is the leader of the crime syndicate on an alternate Earth. The crime syndicate are the equivalent of the Justice League from another Earth, except instead of being heroes, they're fucking criminals. You know what I mean? Ultraman is the leader. I thought that somehow Lex and Ultraman were working together when all the previews came out. I was like, holy shit. And they're hiding his face because it's probably some big name actor that is playing Ultraman that they don't want us to know. That's what I thought. You know what I mean? The alternative that I didn't expect was fucking Bizarro. Because essentially, Ultraman is Bizarro. Because what Lex did is he made a clone of Superman that's basically dumb and does whatever he wants. You know what I mean? And in a lot of cases, that's how Bizarro started. It depends on which continuity you go with, but that's how Bizarro started, where Bizarro was a clone that Lex Luthor created that went wrong to fight Superman. You know what I mean? And he was backwards and stuff. It's not completely Bizarro, but the concept is Bizarro, especially when he was like, he may be even dumber than you. I was like, this is just Bizarro. And I did not expect that. And in the end of the movie, when him and Superman fight and he falls in the black hole, I'm like, holy shit, he didn't die. He's transported to another universe, and they're gonna do Bizarro World, which is awesome. Bizarro World is when Bizarro discovers a planet in the in I think sometimes it all depends because sometimes it's another universe, sometimes it's the main universe, right? Um, but a lot of times they do the multiverse thing with it, right? So he finds another planet, right, and he starts to populate that planet. That was set up in this movie. James Gunn is a nerd. This shit is in such good hands because he set up so many things in this movie. What this movie did is it dropped you in this world and it told this Superman story. The world exists. The world is what it is. It doesn't hold your hand. It doesn't take its time explaining things. You know what I mean? Like as much as I love the first few phases of Marvel, and honestly, I still like Marvel. One thing that they did though is that they took you by the hand and explained everything. And like I guess that's one way to do it, but I really like this way to do it. So like people like me, like we just catch stuff. Like it's not they don't hold your hand, they don't go over the top to explain it. We just catch stuff. And like when we catch stuff, it's like holy shit. But like the movie, it doesn't feel like it needs to stop to tell you the things that you might not catch. A very good example of this is Metamorpho. All of that was awesome. He's barely in it, but it's awesome. Like, we don't know exactly how Lex captured him because he shows up in Lex's pocket dimension. By the way, all over the place. I told you, I'm just spitballing shit that I loved about it. He shows up in Lex's pocket dimension, right? Lex is somehow controlling him with his son. We don't know how that happened. We don't know any of that stuff. I imagine we might get backstory on that, right? But the movie planted little seeds, so if you know anything about Metamorpho, you can kind of put together yourself what happened. When that video comes out of Jor-El basically saying, that he was sent to conquer the planet, right? Which I'll get to that. But when he was sent to conquer the planet, right? When Superman, walks away, he goes in that building, right? When he looks down behind him, you see a neon sign that says Stag Industries, right? And I had forgot, even though I already knew he was in the movie, but I forgot. I was like, wait, is Metamorpho in this? And then when I saw him in the prison, I was like, holy shit, he is in this. Metamorpho, for y'all that don't know, is a employee that used to work for Simon Stagg. Simon Stagg is the head of Stagg Industries. Metamorpho is his real name is Rex Mason. That's his nickname is Rex. I can't remember what his real name first name is, but name is Rex Mason. And Rex fell in love. Is it Rex? Is it Mason? I believe it's Mason. I don't know, but Rex, right? He falls. In fact, let me double check that. Let me check on my nerd shit. Hold on. Let me check on my nerd shit. Yeah, Rex Mason. I know I ain't stupid, but yeah, he falls in love with Simon Stagg's daughter, who is Sapphire Stagg, right? And I get to that too. And then as a result, because Simon didn't want her to fuck with a regular ass nigga, there's just no other way to put it. He wanted, her to mess with somebody who's rich, right? So, he volunteered Rex Mason for a experimental procedure, and as a result, turned him into Metamorpho. And then he was unstable and all this other stuff, and eventually, he became a hero. It's a whole backstory to the thing. But you see him in the prison, and you can just assume, holy shit, that's what happened, because Stagg Industries exists in this world because you see the neon sign. And then when you see the video where they're on the news talking about the invasion of the place down from Markovia next to Baravia. God damn it. Hold on. I had notes that I'm not using. I'm gonna get to that too, because that's also a story from fucking what's the name of that fucking play? It don't matter. But Start with a J. Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. Hold on, hold on. Y'all bear with me. Y'all bear with me. Y'all bear with me. Yeah, Johanapur or something like that. That's from the comics too, by the way. He stops when he sees the thing on the news about it, and then when they show Metamorpho, next to him is Sapphire Stag, a woman with blonde hair with tattoos all over her, and I immediately knew that's Sapphire. But like, a lot of other people did. It was, just his baby mom. I'm like, nah, that's Sapphire Stag because I know comic books. You know what I mean? It's just all there for me, but you can enjoy the movie the exact same way. It didn't stop to tell you. Like, they didn't even like go that far with his son. You know what I mean? You just saw his son. You just saw his kid. They didn't go overboard to explain the kid or anything like that. As my headphones come out, this video sucks. Um, they didn't do any of that stuff. So, I appreciated that. I appreciated how like Lex Luthor's logic made no sense. The fact that he was just jealous of Superman. Like there's no rhyme or reason for him to want to do any of this. He just jealous of the man. And a lot of times people lose sight of that when they adapt Lex Luthor. They just make him generic bad guy, right? Where really he's just a dude that's insecure. Like he's just insecure because he's been great at everything his whole life. Intellect, he's always the smartest guy in the room. He has a ton of money. He fucks all the bitches, all that stuff. Lex Luthor, everything is fucking perfect for him. But this one guy is just better than him in every way. Everybody loves him. He's good looking. You know what I mean? He's super nice. He's super sociable. All these people love Superman. And he's like, I'm good at all this stuff. I got all this money. I can fuck whatever bitch I want because I have a lot of money. I'm the smartest dude in the room. Yet, nobody likes me. And I don't like that shit. I'm special, but nobody treats me like I'm special. So just as a result, you know what I mean? I'm going to kill this dude because it'll make me feel better. Nothing else, but it'll make me feel better. And that's why I love that scene at the end where he was like, no, I started this war because I want to kill you. No other reason than that. because like that in a nutshell, that's Lex Luthor. You know what I mean? Just great adaptation to him. Guy Gardner wasn't even too much. Like I enjoyed Guy Gardner, and I was worried that he would be too much. Well, really, they just gave him a few one-liners here and there. And he was funny. And honestly, the ring, the effects of the ring, I'm glad they went that route instead of just like a bunch of beam shooting or whatever. They just went. He thinks something, he wills it. Constructs. You know what I mean? I appreciated that. I was like, all right, that's one way to do it to make it look better in live action. And that movie made me super excited for Lanterns because that's going to be super serious. Because what they're adapting is a super serious story. That one is going to be super serious, right? And then somehow Guy Gardner is going to fit into all that. I cannot wait for that. That's the one. And like I was worried about that because I'm like, man, I don't know because the Superman movie looks goofy, and it was still goofy. It was silly, you know what I mean? But after seeing this movie though, and after seeing like the care that is put into this universe that everyone lives in, and like the attention to detail with all these little things, cannot wait for that shit. Obviously the mascot of the movie is Crypto. Everybody's gonna love Crypto. Everybody's gonna love Crypto. Everybody's gonna love Crypto. He's the mascot. You know what I mean? Everybody's gonna love Crypto. He was funny and he was genuinely funny. You know what I mean? And it wasn't to the point where it was annoying. Like it was genuinely funny. But yeah, it's like I said, it's just a lot of moving pieces going, but somehow they all, come together quite nicely. The only real issue I said is I don't think Lex and they really, like I said, they don't have three scenes together. Superman, Lex, and it's Superman and Lex. And there is the other problem that a lot of people have a problem with, and I kind of see it because I did for a little bit, is that he gets his ass whooped a bit too much. It's like you gotta go that route because you know what I mean, because in some case, you got to make a choice. You know what I mean? Either he is super powerful and all the people that beat him are super powerful as well, or you nerf him a bit. And I'm glad that they nerfed him. You know what I mean? Because that it leads to better storytelling. It leads to better storytelling. That I'm glad they did that. All in all, though, it like I said, it's a great movie. Oh yeah, another thing I noticed, another cool thing that I noticed, the fucking president, I guess prime minister, because he's a prime minister in the comic, the prime minister of Moravia, right? I love that they did the little attention to detail to have it be Hawk Girl that fucking killed him. Because, and her going like, I'm not like Superman either. That leads me to believe that they did the death of Hawkman in this universe. Because in the new 52, Hawkman dies in the new 52. And you know who killed, you know who has him killed? The Prime Minister of Moravia. And I was like, that is fucking awesome, man. Like this nigga James Gunn, man. Like this dude James Gunn is a geek, bro. He is a geek. He is me. He is me with a budget. Fucking awesome, bro. Fucking awesome. Just fucking awesome. There's a lot of stuff in this movie. I was like, that is fucking awesome. The stuff with, and I said I was going to get to it. The stuff with Jor-El is going to divide people, right? The stuff with his parents is just going to divide people. The revelation that Superman was sent here to conquer, right? It's been done before. It's been done. It's been done before, but it's been retconned later. I don't think they're retconning this. I just think that this is just what it is, and it doesn't bother me. I don't really care that much about his parents, but to some people that really love Superman, that's gonna bother them. But doesn't really bother me at all. Doesn't really bother me at all. And because I was like, man, did Lex doctor this? Like Lex had to have doctored this, and the whole movie, like he did not. He did not. That's just what it said. That's just what it's. He did not. So yeah, that's gonna listen. It's gonna divide some people. But yeah, just go see it, y'all. IMAX probably definitely go see it. Fantastic movie. All right, man. Y'all here? We'll count to 5. Okay, so if you're still here, that means you're here because you like my pro wrestling takes, right? So tonight was AEW All In from Dallas, Texas. And I don't want to talk too much about the show because we will do that on the Blue Moon podcast. We will do that. That is fine. I want to talk about a comment when we were watching the show live. So we watched the Mercedes Moné and Mercedes Moné and Toni Storm women's title match. I don't even want to talk about if it's good or not. The result was Mercedes Moné lost in a very competitive match that was very hard fought. Both women looked very equal, and Mercedes Moné lost. And a young man on our Discord, because this is old school, a young man on our Discord named Shadowgeist2111 said, and I quote, that match was a waste of time. He said, I can't believe I waited all day for Mercedes versus Toni just for that result. Toni wins, really, FOH. And then he said it was a waste of time. Very 2016 Sasha Banks booking there. I don't know what was going on in WWE in 2016 because again, I don't watch shit I don't like, but I assume it was the typical 50-50 booking that they always do, right? But how can you watch that match today? How can you watch the build for that match and call that a waste of time? Toni Storm is the AEW Women's World Champion. She just came off the hottest women's feud in maybe 10 years, maybe since, in America at least since Sasha and Bayley in NXT. Maybe since that one. You know what I mean? I would argue hotter because the business was better. But if you want to say that was hot or fine, that's on you. Um, she's coming off the hottest feud since that one, and Mercedes Monet has been going around the world and winning world titles everywhere, beating people from all over the world, beating challengers in AEW, out of AEW, winning titles all over. She's the TBS Women's Champion in AEW right now. Currently, she holds a belt in AEW. This was the biggest women's match they could put on. If it was title for title, I would hear your logic. But they didn't do something as stupid as title for title because they didn't want to tie up both titles with one human being because that would be dumb. The women's division, and a lot of this is attributed to Mercedes, is much better and much deeper than it used to be. Mercedes seems to enjoy going around the world and being this world beater that can travel and win titles and all this other stuff, right? She seems to enjoy to do that. If she wins this women's title, if she wins the world title, then it's all the more reason for her not to do that because she's now the main, truly the only focus of the women's division. You know what I mean? There's more than one woman in that company. You know what I'm saying? And giving the win to Mercedes Moné when honestly she doesn't really need it because she already has all these titles and she's beating a lot of the women in the AEW women's division anyway. It's kind of slow. Like it's kind of counterintuitive when the whole idea is to make both belts seem important. Because when you beat Tony for that title, both of the belts are just tied up in Mercedes now. They went out there and had a competitive match, and Tony went over. So as a result, Tony can keep defending this belt against all these opponents that she couldn't defend them against before because she was tied up with Mariah May for a year. Like, she hasn't had a big match with Willow Nightingale. She hasn't had a big match with Athena. She hasn't had a big match with Chris Statlander. All of these people, Mercedes has had matches with. You know what I mean? She's already faced these people. So as a result, it gives them both things to do. Mercedes can keep going around the world, right? Going to Japan, not Japan because she lost both of those titles, but going to Mexico, going to the UK, still defending the TBS title. If she wants to go to Japan, she can go back to Japan and try and win one of those titles. I'm sure she wants to face Sareee. I'm sure she wants to do that. Her not having this AEW Women's World title allows her to still do that while also maintaining all her aura. All her aura. Also maintaining all her aura. Because she still has all those belts. Meanwhile, Toni Storm is over here finally getting to face the opponents that she didn't get to face because she was tied up with Mariah May. It's a win-win for both parties. There was no logical argument for Mercedes Moné to win this match other than if you just happen to like Mercedes Moné. And if that's the case, then just say that. Stop making it seem like this is some sort of bad idea because they decided to have both belts still remain healthy and strong. It's not a bad idea at all. Because Mercedes, like I said, could do exactly what she's been doing already. And then Toni Storm can lose to someone who actually needs to beat her, who actually would benefit from beating her. Because Mercedes doesn't benefit. You can argue, even though Toni Storm is the top woman in AEW, and I don't care how much you think Mercedes is, Toni Storm is the top woman in AEW. She is the most over. Nobody gets react. Maybe Will Ospreay, Hangman Page, and Swerve Strickland get better reactions than Toni Storm. And I got news for you. If you think Mercedes Moné gets reactions like Hangman Page, Swerve Strickland, and fucking Will Ospreay, then something wrong, and Kenny Omega too, him too. Then something wrong with you. Because a lot of the times, Mercedes Moné gets nothing until the fucking bell rings. So we're not doing that. But Toni Storm is almost as over, and in some cases as over as those people. Toni Storm drew a huge match in Australia, a huge fucking house in Australia. So I would argue she's at least a good of a draw or more of a draw than Mercedes Moné. You know what I mean? And even if you want to argue that I'm wrong, Mercedes is right there. It is close. You know what I mean? So as a result, they both keep their aura because they have two big stars in that division. They both keep their aura. They both keep their aura. You know what I mean? So it's fine. This is why people think I hate Mercedes Moné. Because when shit like this happens, no one is honest about it, bro. If you just like the lady, then that's fine. The way you post in the Discord lets me know that you like the lady, and that's cool. That's good. My favorite wrestler is Eddie Kingston. I'm not lobbying for Eddie Kingston to win all the time, bro. When he loses, it's fine. Honestly, it's a good thing. Jay White is my second favorite wrestler. I'm not lobbying for him to win all the time. And honestly, a lot of times when he loses, it's a good thing. Jay White was in the worst match of 2024. That's my favorite wrestler. It's not hard to do. It's not hard to do that. See, if you want to post like a fan, then just be like, "Hey, I'm just upset because I'm a fan." Then cool. But if you want to be taken seriously, then you know what I mean. You have, especially in our Discord. I'm just being honest. You have to know what the fuck you're talking about. And in saying something like Mercedes Moné losing that match hurts the business is a bad thing when literally that is the only result that helps everybody involved. You might be dumb. You might be dumb. And this was the mind state that a lot of Sasha fans had, that a lot of Mercedes fans had at the time. This is why people think I don't like her, because this was the mind when she came to AEW, and now she's hated because everybody that comes to AEW is hated. That's a whole nother topic for another video. There were people that when she first left the WWE acted like everything that she did was the only reason things were successful. When she did Battle of the Valley and it sold the tickets that it sold, and then the next year they had like 12 less people at the show, sold the same amount of tickets with no fucking Mercedes Moné. You know what I mean? And when I was like, yo, it would have sold out anyway, just like it ended up selling out the next year. You know what I mean? Or like when she appeared at All-Star Grand Queendom for Stardom, and they did a good house. They did like 5,000 people. The next year, and the people was like, oh, that was the biggest match on the card, when they were paying off fucking Julia and Tam Nakano in the main event. And then the next year, they did less people because so many people were injured. But you know what happened this year? You know what happened in 2025 with no Mercedes Moné at all? Saya Kamatani and Tam Nakano drew almost 8,000 people in the building. Nearly double the people in the building. This is why I got so upset, because the Mercedes Moné stands are fucking weird people. Her haters are also weird. This is why I made the point on Blue Moon that she is like LeBron James in his prime, because people like that, they aren't as prominent as they used to be. Now it's just the haters, you know what I mean? Because she's in AEW now, you know what I mean? But we have to be objective. And if you can't be objective, state that immediately. State that from the jump, that I am not objective at all. Then that's fine. That's fine. It means you're not to be taken seriously. Just know, I just need to know that ahead of time before you post like a maniac. Because when you say stuff like, it was a waste of time, when this is the biggest show of the year, and they wanted to put on the biggest possible women's match, which this is, you know what I mean? Just because you didn't like the result, that made sense. For everyone, I bet even Mercedes Moné would tell you, I probably should lose this match. So what are we doing here? What are we doing here? And you know, some people think she has creative control. So I don't know if that's true. But let's say that is true. Then that means even she thought she should have lost this match. Because it helps everyone. If you really think she's never going to be the AEW Women's Champion, then that's crazy. She will be. She will be when she doesn't have all these titles. She will be. That was dumb. I don't know what to tell you. That was dumb. See y'all on Tuesday.